Hey guys, Peter, HVAC Greatness. So if you hadn't figured it out yet, this stuff doesn't sell itself. It requires salesmanship. And what I want to talk about today is more of a strategy on how you approach your sales. So if you go out to somebody's home and you assess their situation and you recommend a system and you offer a single solution, you've done your job, right? Hopefully they'll buy from you. And a lot of times that does work, but in today's world, people want options. And so by offering a single estimate or proposal or bid, what you're doing is you're forcing your potential client to go to your competition to get other options. So it's always best to offer options. Offer multiple systems. So that's strategy number one. Don't just give them one option. Give them multiple. Let me give you an example on this. Here's an online website. Work is where you can come in and you can choose from one of three systems. Now this is a good example of another strategy we want to call contrasting. Contrasting is done through colors, which this website does really well, through pricing, which it does, and then again through features. Now, one of the things it does not do is it doesn't contrast by size, by visual. It does really well in color. But the thing that it does that we want to do different is it leads with the least expensive and it goes more expensive to the right. So, for example, good, better, best. And this is understood, but unfortunately, when you're going through and talking at this level with your customers and their options, if you start with a basic system and it seems to satisfy them and you try to talk about the next system up, they'll listen to you to a point, but what you're going to find is people are going to stop you and say, no, I don't want to spend any more. This is fine. This is fine. So what we do is actually offer it in reverse. So here's another website you may be familiar with. This is an industry program that's used, Jobber. A lot of people love this program. They don't do as good a job in contrasting. I mean, they do right here in the most popular because that's the one they want to sell. But what they do differently is they put their good on the right-hand side and they lead with their best. Now, this is actually better in my opinion and in my experience. If you lead with your best and you talk about all of the wonderful things that happens, as you move to the right and the price comes down, you start to take things away and there's a feeling of loss. And you'll find that people start to push you back to the left. So the combination of these two things is really powerful. So let me show you an example. This is an older one that we did on a PowerPoint. So let's say that these three systems right here are your good, best, better, good. If you can see, I've got my gold on the left at 9,500. I've got my silver in the middle, and then I've got my basic over here on the right. Now, what I would do different from this is, well, I'll show you here after I finish the point. This is a kind of an interesting thing, and I wanted you to take this message away. Years ago, Canon had a 3-camera option, 3 cameras. So they had their basic camera, their better camera, and their deluxe camera. Well, what they found was, I'm going to use this as the circle as an example here. Over 50% of their sales came from the one in the middle. Now, what they discovered was that most people didn't want the cheapest, but they really didn't feel like they needed the very best, so they tended to go with the one in the middle. But they wanted to improve their sales and their revenues, so here's what they did. They come in and they created a deluxe system. So it was above good, better, and best, and it was much more expensive. And so what they did is they put those side by side and offered 4 tiers instead of 3, 4 options instead of 3, and guess what happened? This system over here, which virtually got no sales, all of a sudden started getting the majority of the sales, with a good bit of them being over here in the silver. You see, it seemed like most people wanted that second best. There were still people who wanted the very best and still people who wanted the very cheapest. But what they saw was when they used this system, they sold very few gold systems. But by simply taking a premium system and sticking it over to the left, all of a sudden, this gold system, this best level, started to improve their overall sales. So they got a lot more of these sales. And by the way, you can look at these numbers and see they sold a lot more expensive systems, which meant more gross profit. So when you're in doing your price calculation, now what we do, let me show you here real quickly. When you do your price calculator, you'll enter in all of your system numbers, right? And you'll spit it out into a book. So what we are doing is putting that into a 4-tier system. We've got your good, we've got your better, and we've got your best. So let me show you what that looks like. So we got gas electric splits, gas or heat pump splits, package heat pumps, gas packs, and then ductless heat pump systems. Those are our systems in this particular case. So we figure out what kind of net profit or gross profit we want and calculate our price books for all of these levels. And you may have a different margin on your better than you do on your good, and different on your best than you do on the others. And we did add a supreme system in here. But we also have, and this is not in the presentation that you would look at, we have a promotion system. I'll explain that here in a minute. But going back to this, here's the way the contrast probably should look. You should have your very best, your premium. It should be color difference so that it stands out. It should have more boxes checked. So it physically, you see that you get more because it costs more. And you get, this one costs a little bit less, well, you get a little bit less. And they need to see and feel that as a strategy. So whether you choose the 3-tier, let me zoom this way back here. So you see the green is our good, here's our better, and here's our best. And of course, we always have a promotion system that we have on a separate standalone page, because if your customer decides that they don't want one of those options, like one of these 3 over here, maybe you can pull out of your pocket and say, well, we do have this promotional system, and it's different than our standard brand, or it's different than our standard offer in this way, but it's a very good offer. So that will allow you to do that if you're looking at these different options. Now we've also done the 4-tier, like I said. So big difference here. You see the green, gold, and blue. That's good, better, best. And then we added a super deluxe down here versus this that does not have it. Okay, and that's the way we would recommend you doing that in your price books when you're actually entering in and spitting out your price book. So that's really the way that you'll want to do that. So I hope this helps. Don't offer a single system anymore. Offer options. Try the 4-tier versus the 3-tier and compare that with different customer types. You may find that the 3-tier offer works better with a certain type of customer. These studies come from years ago, and they're probably still relevant today because human beings are human beings, right? But they may change depending on the type of customers that you're putting yourself in front of. Contrast them based in length, more checks for the more expensive system, and a different color, right? So that visually it stands out in their mind. And here's what's going to happen. Subconsciously, they have a pattern in their history, and they tend to go with the second best, or they tend to go with the very best, or maybe they tend to go with the cheapest. But that's how they make a decision internally, while you think they're reading all these SEER ratings and AFUE levels and capacities and humidity control and things like this. What fundamentally triggers them is non-logical emotional responses like this. So that's a little tip from Pete here on one of the secrets to selling and having more success. Obviously, give them more options so that they stay with you. They're more likely to stay with you and not go searching for more quotations, and give them contrast within those options, and always lead with the very best. And as you start to go down in tier, you start to take things away, and you'll find that they'll stop you and they'll move back over to their comfort zone and buy based on emotion. So design your systems around emotion and go have some success. Pete Ramsey here, HVAC Greatness. Go get them.